Hi, everyone. It's Linda from Linda Z's. I am so excited to be with you again today. We have a great project coming up. In the meantime, I think most of you know that this is our creative center here. We are so fortunate to have our little home online where we are able to do sewing, quilting, embroidery. We're just thrilled to offer that to you in so many different ways. And if you really love what we're doing, which I know many of you do, then please click on that subscribe, click on the like, the hands up. Definitely make a comment. So let's step into our quilting project of the day. So now you can see the table runner. It's very, very simple. It's actually the same thing as a quilt. We start in the center, and you can see I'm pressing this out, making it nice and smooth. On the back, I do have a backing on here. There's batting in between. And it's very important to keep pressing that out and smoothing it out so that you don't have any ripples on your backing. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to pin this. And again, we start from the middle, even with the pinning, then we go out and out to the end. And after I'm through with the pinning, you can see I've got layer cakes here, I've got 4 little patches here, and 2 little patches on the end. I am going to go ahead and actually do my stitching, the quilting on this on the ASR, which is the stitch regulator on the Janome. But Brother has a wonderful dual feed foot where I'm first going to do a little stitch in the ditch to give a real nice hold to this before I do the actual stippling or quilting. And I'm going to do around the edge of each one of these blocks, and then I'll show you how the dual feed operates. But you can see another thing I've noticed as I'm doing this, as I'm pinning this now, look at how easily this pin, if you go right down there and see how it just clipped right in there? And the reason it does that is because it's got a nice curved back. And I want to show you the difference between a curved back and one that isn't. And then I'll show you how the difference. Can you see how this one's curved and this one is straight? So now I'll take the straight one. You saw how easily that curved one went in there. And this one, try and get it on there. And you see how the resistance is? I mean, I can do it, but it's much more difficult to get it in. And use that. And I'll show you the one that I love again. And this is the one that's just that little bit of curve, just allows this to go in there and you're done. No, no efforts at all. Then I'll go back to this area. I am going to pin a couple in the actual layer cakes. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we're going to go around the outside. So you really want to know ahead of time what type of quilting that you're going to do on the quilt or the table runner so that you know where you can place these pins. There are other methods of doing this, but this is one method, and I just wanted you to be able to be aware of it. So I'll finish pinning, and then I'll go back to the machine and show you the quilting. So if you notice, I have the dual feed foot on this wonderful pre-loved Brother. It's a BQ3050. Great price. And I tell you, I've looked at it. I always check these machines out, even though they've been certified before I sew on them. This is so pristine that the bobbins haven't even been used yet. So I guess what happened, this woman knew she wanted a good machine, but she wanted embroidery too. And she got home and decided that she really wanted to have both. So she traded this in right after she had bought it and got the top of the line luminaire. So somebody's going to get a great bargain on this machine. Now, I have started with this edge foot. Do you see this little black metal piece right here? That's going to run right along. It's really a stitch in the ditch. And when you have a dual feed like this, and then you've got a marker here, it's a no-brainer. And see how my needle is down? There's a up and down lever here that I can actually physically bring it up or bring it down. But in the machine itself, there is a little page here that I can go in and adjust that so that the needle, there's 7 pages here, so the needle is either up or down. It's a great, great machine. Here's all your lengths and your widths right here. And this is something a little bit different. You've got to check yours out. I did take a little scrap of paper, of fabric here. don't think it was on this one. Here, I'll put it up there so you can see it. And I was trying out the different lengths. And the stitch quality on the back is just as nice as on the front. And I doubled this up so it was a little thicker. And this was the regular 2.5. I brought this up to a 3.0. I think it looks just a little bit, and especially this table runner, this quilt is a little bit thicker than what this is. So I just want it to sink down in there. I don't want it to be very obvious. I just want it to be kind of quiet, although I am doing a light, well, kind of a bluish color thread. And I do have the same thread in the front as in the bobbin. Now, do you see how I'm just kind of slightly moving it? And if I needed this stylist, I could use it, but I really don't need it on this because this is all pinned and I can go ahead and move this just with my hands as it's going through. So you can see I'll go up, and again, if I want to, I can move this slower. So those of you that are, new to quilting or new to doing this, table runner, whatever, can do one at a time. It would drive me crazy, but I try not to do it too fast so you can really see what I'm doing. But again, you want to keep it nice and smooth as you're going up there. And what's great about this opening here, you can kind of now go a little bit slower as you're coming up to the end. And there's one more stitch and we're ready to pivot. The great thing about this is I can now raise my knee lift lever. See how great that is? And if you look at the foot, see what's happening? See that's open under there? Now watch. I'm not touching any any lever back here. This knee lift lever is what's going up and down. I hear so many times from customers that are coming into the store that will say, well, Linda, I never use my knee lift lever. Well, I'm hoping that this will show you why this knee lift is so important. Because you could see, I just raised that with the knee, and then I can keep my hands right here where they need to be. So let's continue on. You can see I also did not put those pins in an area right here where this foot is going to go over it. You never, and I don't think I have to say that too often, but you really never want to sew over pins. This is really a, basic when you're doing any kind of quilting. Now I'm going to go just a little bit slower. I can see exactly when they come up to that edge. And then again, I'm going to turn and pivot. And I can do this with my hands. My knee is raising that lever. I mean, I could go up here and, reach and turn the foot up, but it's so much easier to do this. And especially if I'm doing a whole bunch of quilting, these little blocks aren't going to take very long. But, and again, remember, they're just stabilizing the quilt until I do the stitch regulation on it. Now, the one thing, I think I told you, well, let me do one more pivot, and then I'll tell you something about stippling. So again, I pivot. And the one thing you have to do about pivoting, because this is such a nice big open arm, is that when you're doing that pivoting and you're getting your quilt down here, you want to pull all that excess through. You can, if you've got a great big wide quilt, you can just start rolling it up and it rolls very easily. This one is not hard to do because it's just long, it's not wide. I will take a one of those lovely little thread catcher, the rolling things to collect the dust or the fuzz on there when I'm through. Okay, so now I'm going right up to the edge, and you can see this is the last one. Well, let's just do one. Now, when I do a normal, especially if you're doing a long arm quilt, I could now raise my foot, raise my needle, and I can bring this thread way out. And then what I could do is cut this thread at a, had my scissor handy. And I'll just use this little cutter on the side here. And then I can pull this thread through and knot it from the other side. And then that way I know that that thread is not going to come undone. It's so fine. I'm using a finer quilt top thread because all I'm doing, and I'll show you the back of this now. All I'm doing is stitching around the blocks. And that's really going to hold it when I go to do my stitching. See how nice it is? Nice and smooth. Nothing got in the way. I mean, you put it under the light, you can see it a little bit easier. You see how it's not puckering? It's just really nice and smooth. And I could bring those threads up. I actually, on this one, I would bring those threads up to the top and actually tie them off from the top. I know that sounds a little crazy to some of you, but on this particular quilt, and again, it's a table runner, and this is going to go in the wash. It's going to be, washed quite often, so I would want it to be able to, I wouldn't want those threads coming out. So that is really where we're at with the quilting of the blocks. That's the technique. The one other thing I want to show you is on the actual dual feed foot, these feet come off. And that's what's so great, is that if you didn't want to do a stitch in the ditch, but you wanted to use some of these other feet, this has got an opening and it's clear, so it's very easy to see it. It's for your regular sewing. This is your stitch in the ditch. This is if you're doing your 1/4" seams, and you've got a little guide here. And then you always have this dual feed that is really, really helping. Now we're focusing on this camera on the front of the machine. A little plug, electric plug that just goes right in there. And now it's all hooked up to the machine and everything is going to operate together. I want to thank you for coming to see us. I hope you like our new format. Look at how quickly and how easily you can just see exactly what we're talking about. You can even see the little red lines on there for your movement of your fabrics, and the same way with here. And so make a comment if you like it. I hope you do. And we're trying to focus more on the actual machine or on the actual technique so that you can see it very easily. Again, guys, thanks so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week.